The hype of the Kickstarter launch. Back in 2012, Ouya was everywhere in the gaming news cycle. The idea of a $99 gaming console that could take on Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo felt bold, even revolutionary. The team behind Ouya pitched it as a new kind of gaming system, cheap, accessible, and open. Crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter were still fairly new, and Ouya's campaign blew up instantly. In just 24 hours, it raised $2 million. By the end, it had pulled in over $8.5 million from more than 63,000 backers. For context, at that time, this made it one of the most successful Kickstarter projects ever. People weren't just buying a console, they were buying into a dream. That gaming could be cheaper, freer, and more independent. The vision behind Ouya. The vision was simple but powerful. Ouya was a tiny cube-shaped device running on Android, which meant developers could easily create or port games to it. Unlike traditional consoles that had strict approval processes, Ouya promised an open ecosystem where anyone could publish a game. Even better, every game on the platform was supposed to be at least free to try, meaning players could sample before buying. This was pitched as the ultimate win-win. Developers could experiment without massive costs, and gamers could explore without risk. It felt fresh and disruptive, and it immediately captured the imagination of gamers tired of the big three controlling the console market. Early signs of trouble, but even before launch, cracks started to show. Developers who got their hands on early Ouya kits reported clunky software and cheap-feeling hardware. The operating system wasn't as smooth as promised, and the controller had issues with lag and sensitivity. For a console built around being developer-friendly, many were surprised by how unpolished it felt. Questions started bubbling up. Could Ouya really compete with the polish of PlayStation or Xbox? Was it trying to carve out a space that mobile gaming had already taken? Despite the red flags, excitement carried the project forward. The hype was so strong that people wanted to believe it would succeed. The hardware reality. When Ouya finally launched in mid-2013, reality hit hard. The console was powered by NVIDIA's Tegra 3 chip, which at the time was already outdated. It was fine for basic Android apps and mobile-style games, but for a living room console, it felt weak. Games often struggled with frame rates and performance, and the user interface lagged badly. The controller, which was supposed to be a key part of the experience, was widely criticized. Buttons stuck, triggers felt flimsy, and there was noticeable input lag. Gamers who expected a polished alternative to the big consoles were disappointed. What was billed as a disruptive piece of hardware instead felt like a rushed prototype. The software library problem. Hardware issues alone might not have doomed Ouya, but the software library made things worse. The console's biggest selling point was its library of games, but when it launched, the lineup was underwhelming. Most of the games were small indie titles, many of which were already available for free on smartphones. Players quickly realized they were paying for a new piece of hardware just to play games they could already access on their phones or tablets. There were no exclusive blockbuster titles, no killer apps to justify buying the system. Without big-name developers backing it, Ouya's catalog looked thin. In the gaming world, consoles live or die by their software, and Ouya's collection simply couldn't compete. Competition with mobile and major consoles. There was also a problem with timing. The year 2013 saw the beginning of a boom in mobile gaming. Smartphones were growing more powerful, and casual gamers had thousands of games that were either free or inexpensive at their disposal. Both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were just around the bend for gamers who were searching for the kind of experiences that were serious and of great quality. This resulted in Ouya being caught in the middle. In order to compete with the major consoles, it was not only too weak and unrefined, but it was also too redundant to differentiate itself from mobile gaming. Ouya became a solution to an issue that did not actually exist, rather than successfully carving out its own niche in the market. The retail backlash. Despite the initial euphoria, the reality of the situation rapidly sank in when Ouya was introduced to retailers like Amazon, Best Buy, and Target. Evaluations were not kind. A number of customers voiced their dissatisfaction with the incomplete feel, the faulty interface, and the absence of games that were intriguing. The controller became the subject of persistent criticism, with many individuals stating that it didn't feel as high quality as other console controllers that were already in existence. There was a noticeable slowdown in sales after the initial wave of backers received their devices. Attempts to recover. The crew that was responsible for Ouya did not instantly give up. In an effort to entice developers, they initiated a number of initiatives, one of which was the Free the Games Fund. If independent game creators decided to release their games only on Ouya, this program committed to match the funds raised through Kickstarter. On paper, it appeared to be an excellent method for acquiring additional content that was exclusive to the console. As a matter of fact, it was a catastrophe. The program's credibility was soon damaged as a result of allegations of fraud or manipulation leveled against other campaigns. Instead of gaining the support of independent software developers, it drove them away. Ouya was seen by many as causing more problems than it was worth. Updates, fixes, and promotional efforts were all attempts made by the corporation. Nonetheless, the unfavorable reputation had already been established. The end of Ouya. By 2015, Ouya's fate was sealed. Sales had stalled, gamers weren't buying in, and developers weren't building for it. The console had gone from crowdfunding superstar to gaming cautionary tale in just a few years. That year, Razer stepped in and acquired Ouya's software assets, folding some of its technology into their own gaming ecosystem. But Razer didn't continue the hardware, and the Ouya console itself was discontinued. Support for its marketplace eventually ended, and the once hyped device quietly vanished from the gaming scene. For many backers, it felt like a broken promise, proof that hype doesn't always translate into long-term success. The legacy of Ouya. Despite its failure, Ouya left behind an interesting legacy. It showed both the power and the risks of crowdfunding. It proved that gamers were hungry for alternatives to the big three, but also that delivering on such lofty promises is far harder than pitching them. Ouya's struggles highlighted how crucial software libraries are. Without strong exclusive games, even the most affordable hardware will struggle. In some ways, Ouya was ahead of its time. The idea of small, affordable gaming boxes has since been embraced by streaming devices, cloud gaming services, and mini consoles. But Ouya couldn't stick the landing. Today, it's remembered not for changing gaming, but for reminding everyone how quickly hype can fade when execution falls short. The Kickstarter hype. The Ouya Kickstarter campaign generated massive attention. Gamers and tech enthusiasts were excited about the concept of cheap console gaming with indie innovation. Early backers felt they were part of a movement, helping to disrupt the traditional gaming industry. The campaign emphasized transparency, community involvement, and developer freedom, which appealed to a wide audience. Ouya promised to be the next big thing in console gaming, but the hype also set extremely high expectations that the small company would struggle to meet.